Is it possible that the Texas Pinball Festival is becoming, or has become, or is now the greatest pinball show in our country, possibly the world? Did that happen? I heard it said. People claimed that. We're going to talk about the TPF 2014 in depth here on Coast to Coast Pinball tonight, episode 73. Let's go. Welcome to Coast Pinball. Very glad you're here joining us tonight. Thank you for listening in to episode 73. My name is Nate Shivers. I am a man. This is a podcast. It's a commentary. And I have no quarters. Or something. I don't know. A lot of shows right in a row trying to change things up. So, how's everyone doing? It's Monday night. I had a long day of work in and around New York City here, and then this evening, right off the heels of a long weekend of pinball, I had dinner in the city and thought, what should I do? It's 8 o'clock. And I went to Modern Pinball New York City and played a bunch of more pinball. So I don't know if we're going to get to talk about that tonight, because the topic at hand is it's time to go in deep and do a really fleshed out review and talk about what I saw in Frisco, Texas over the weekend at the Texas Pinball Festival.
Trip reports.
So I was talking to one of the big pinball vendors on Saturday, and I was asking him what other shows he was going to be displaying his products at, and he threw out some places he might be going, and we were sort of talking, and he said, he goes, Nate, this probably is the best pinball show in the country. And I said, really, you think so? And I said, better than, and I named a few. And he said, yeah, because it's all pinball, and look how many games there are, and look how many people there are. This is probably, as far as going to play pinball, the best show in the country. And, I haven't been to all the shows, so I can't say it's the best. But I'll throw that out there for you. Upwards, I think we had over 400 games. I never heard a final count. They were looking at like 450 games coming into the show. Lots of rare games, lots of new games. You had, the seminars and the speeches at the Texas Pinball Festival were hardly groundbreaking. They were fun. If you'd never heard any of these people speak before, I'm sure it was great. It is a little interesting, though, that you get into some of these things, and like the Roger Sharp seminar or speech, he kind of said, I'm going to just take some questions because I don't want to bore everyone with the same old stories. And one of the very first questions from the crowd was, back in 1976 or whatever year it was, I forget, you helped legalize pinball in New York City. Can you tell us about it? From an older gentleman. And a lot of us looked at each other and thought, I think he was basically telling us he wanted to avoid that story at the beginning. So anyway, what I'm saying is, I think Expo is really the launch show. It's here's our new product, here's what we got going on, heading into the holidays. Stern likes to release information at Expo. A lot of stuff comes out at Expo. Medieval Madness Remake was announced last year at Expo. The seminars are a big deal at Expo. I believe they, you can't even play while the seminars are going on, right? Texas Pinball Festival is different. The location they had this year was at a very large Embassy Suites with a convention center, like a nice convention center, nice carpet, high ceilings, good lighting, nice facilities. And they had it just laid out beautifully and jam-packed full of games, but it was open enough that you didn't feel claustrophobic. And I don't think, besides a few of the really big, sought-after games, and I'm talking here about Medieval Madness Remake, Wizard of Oz had long lines, P3 platform, Lexi Lightspeed, Predator, and a few other things, Mustang for sure. There weren't really deep lines for games. I almost never saw more than maybe a person playing a game and maybe one other person standing behind waiting for a certain game. Some of the classic Sterns had that going on. Some of the newer games, certainly in the Marco Specialties booth, a lot of their newer Sterns had a few people waiting. But it was nice because you could always find something to play. And it actually forced me to go play games I just, quite frankly, never probably would have played. I definitely had some things on my wish list I wanted to play and get some time on. But I remember a few times, wanting to play, say there was a Black Hole there that I really wanted to play. Hadn't had a lot of experience with a real Black Hole game. Obviously, I played a lot of it on the Pinball Arcade, but it wasn't. I couldn't play it, and I believe 2 down from it was a Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So I played a bunch of that, which I might not normally play. It happened in other spots too, and it was fun. There was lots of games, lots of good stuff. I really enjoyed it. So let's kind of run down some of the big topics that I think a lot of people are talking about, a lot of people are asking about, a lot of people have emailed me about, and what my thoughts are. I think you heard, if you listen to episodes 71 and 72, you heard some of my interviews, some of the session recordings, but I haven't really gone into depth about what I saw and what I thought. And since this is a commentary, that's what we're going to do. When I first walked in, I literally walked into the convention center on day one. I walked past the first little group of games, and I could see in sort of the middle of the main room, in the entry of the main room, Medieval Madness. And there was another Medieval Madness next to it, not set up yet. And I thought, I wonder if that's the new Medieval Madness. And indeed it was. And the gentleman playing it just so happened to be wearing a Coast2Coast Pinball t-shirt, which was very cool. So I had sent that photo out on Twitter and Facebook saying, hey, huge sighting at the Texas Pinball Festival, a Coast2Coast Pinball t-shirt. Oh, by the way, yes, the new Medieval Madness. So I got in line behind him after I talked to him and introduced myself, and got on the game and played the game. And I got to tell you, looking at the game, it looks like Medieval Madness. It just looks like a brand new, shiny, clean Medieval Madness with LEDs in it. And I think a lot of people, somebody and I were talking and really worried that we were going to walk up to this remake of Medieval Madness and it was going to feel like Star Trek, like Stern's games. Because if you've played a lot of Stern games and played a lot of Bally Williams games from the 90s, they feel different. There's just a difference. I don't want to say build quality because I think that's too general and not quite fair. It's the way they build the game. There's something about the Stern games of late that is just different, and I'm not going to say better or worse. It's just different, and when you buy a Medieval Madness remake, you want it to feel like Medieval Madness. I am here to tell you the game felt like Medieval Madness. I told you last night in episode 72, the flippers seemed weak. People are blaming voltage for this or whatever for that. I played another Medieval Madness in the room that did not have weak flippers, just to kind of verify my results. So they just got to sort the flipper thing out. It'll be fine. The castle exploding, a listener of the show and I were talking, and he actually owns a Medieval Madness, and I won't call him out on air just because, I don't know. Because I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't. But anyway, he owns Medieval Madness, and he's on the list for the new one. So Kenny, who I'm not going to call out on the show here because I wouldn't do that, was telling me that he felt the castle explosion on the remake was just different than the castle explosion on his. And I actually put that in a little blurb on Pinside in the thread. And I stay out of those threads a lot of times because people get chippy and I don't know. Well, anyway, it was sort of met, I think, the word oscilloscope was broken out to say, no, it's the same. We fixed the castle issue we had. But Kenny, who owns one, really felt that, no, I've had this game a long time and the castle felt different. I didn't notice that, honestly. So from me, I don't know. I did not feel, I did, beat a couple castles. I did see it shake and rock and move. It's fine. It's fine. I think to go down that rabbit hole and maybe start looking at that, it's splitting too many hairs, possibly, I guess. I don't know. So I feel like it's in good hands. I think Planetary Pinball is going to sell a lot of those games. I think that it's a game that if they can just keep making them, they could sell that game over and over and over again for the next few years, because I think a lot of people will come into pinball And we were talking with someone who was going to buy his, first game. He was at the show and he was really excited and wanted to buy his first game. And he said money wasn't an object. And I said, you should buy Medieval Madness Remake. And he was surprised. He said, well, really, not like a new game? I said, no, I think that would be a great only game for your, game room. If money's not an object, sure. Do I wish it wasn't $8,000, you say? Did I hear that from the listening crowd? Yeah, I do wish it wasn't $8,000. I really wish that this game was priced like a Stern Pro. I really, really wish that. I want that to be true. It's not true, and they sold a lot of them at the pricing of $8,000, but I am not sure, after having long talks, after getting off the list, having long talks and like playing Monster Bashes, playing Cactus Canyon, playing really expensive games, I'm not sure me personally, Nate Shivers, is ever going to spend $8,000 more in any game for my home. I could as an investment, maybe, if something was rare and I thought it was a good move. But I feel like that's too much money for me personally to put into one game. And I don't know. It's complicated. If they can sell them for $8,000, they should sell them for $8,000. By all means. But if you could make a profit on a game that's already designed and already proven and doesn't need a ton of marketing and advertising, if you could make a profit on that game at $5,500 or $5,900, I think that would be awesome. So I guess that's just my personal want and wish. I think that Planetary Pinball Supply is going to have a major impact on the pinball buying community over the next few years. And I was talking to someone about this at the show, and I said, look, I think that they're going to be a major player. And he said, well, what are they going to do? So if they build, let's say, the rumor going around, and this is purely rumor, I don't know anything. One of the rumors is the next game is Cactus Canyon that they're going to build. Now, I've also heard people come straight up to me and say, no, it's Attack from Mars. But I heard Cactus Canyon more than I heard Attack from Mars at this show. So they build Cactus Canyon, and let's say they sell a couple thousand of those. Maybe more, because, there's just not that many of them. And then they do Attack from Mars, and they sell a few thousand of those. And then maybe they do... here's where it gets tricky. People say, well, Monster Bash. Well, there's licensing issues with Monster Bash. You're using horror characters that are licensees. Maybe they do that. They sell some of those. What else do you do? What other Williams games is it going to be worthwhile to go and build for Planetary Pinball Supply? I mean, are they this manufacturer that's going to be like 3 or 4 games and done? I mean, I think they could probably sell 1,000 Theater Magics. They could probably sell 1,000 Tales of the Arabian Nights. So, I mean, there's 6. Do they go and do Circus Voltaire? I mean, are they going to sell 1,000 Circus Voltaires? Can they sell 1,000 Whitewaters? So, yeah, I think they can. Could they redo Funhouse? I mean, you start getting into these things. How far do you take it? Creature from the Black Lagoon? Shadow? I don't know. Is the demand there for remakes of all these games? And now when you start looking at games like Shadow, well, you can get Shadow for, a whole lot less than you can get a Monster Bash or Medieval Madness for. You certainly can't go and rebuild Shadow and sell it for $8,000, I don't think. Right? Funhouse? $8,000? No way. So they're going to have some decisions to make, and a problem could present itself if they decide that they want to keep building full machines. I don't know. It's interesting. And we'll talk about that some more. But let's get back to the festival. So I've been running off on a tangent there. So Medieval Madness Remake, I think they hit the ground running. I think they're in good shape. I don't care about the trim. Like, whatever. Gold, black, silver. Just get silver trim and be happy. Whatever. I just can't be bogged down in that. Does the game play good? Yeah, it plays good. Does it look right? It looks right. They'll get the flippers fixed. I promise. I promise you that. You have my word. All right. Mustang Pinball. I was very excited to play Mustang Pinball because it's new. I have not seen it. I'm not very excited to own a Mustang pinball. I was not thrilled with this theme, but I was very excited to play it. I can't wait to play new pinball machines. It's like, there's not a lot of them every year. There's 3 or 4 new pinball machines every year, maybe. So I was really excited to play it. And I'm here to tell you that it both was way, way, way better than I thought it would be, and it's also really, 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 really bland like I thought it would be, all in one. And what I mean is this. I don't care about the cars and the modes. You choose one of the cars with the flippers, and that car has a mode. So it's like you choose, the yellowy, curvy Mustang, and you're in mode called cruising. And they've got all this DMD and all these dots about you cruising down the road. And there's one that's like a police chase, and there's one that's a hot rod or drag race or whatever. So you got all these modes. That doesn't excite me. I see what they're doing with this game as far as Gary Stern really going for the easy to learn, hard to master, because all you got to do to get your first multi-ball in this game is knock down the gears targets. That's all you got to do. Just bam, knock the gears target down, you get a 2-ball multi-ball. Go. And that's kind of cool. And I think he's right that stuff like that is really good. I also noticed that when you start multi-balls on this game, there's a countdown, and if you press in both flippers twice, it actually cancels the multi-ball, which I don't know this for sure because I didn't have enough time to really dive through the rules, but I think what that is there's strategy involved with, oh shoot, I hit the multi-ball shot, I hit the scoop shot and multi-ball is lit, but I was trying to start something else to stack on top of multi-ball, so no, don't start multi-ball. I'm going to take my chances and I'm not going to drain my ball and try and get this other thing lit first, then I'm going to start multi-ball to really maximize my scoring, which is sort of like next level thinking and rule set design, which is cool. So it looks to me like they went both, here's some really easy things that are cool and you can do, and here's some really, intricate rule set type things. And I don't know how fleshed out the rules are. I never even really figured out how to light those Mustang letters. The Mustang letters Gary Stern keeps talking about that carry over, they're in the back box. When you light them all, you get Mustang multi-ball. I swear, I played it, and I played it again tonight in Modern Pinball. I couldn't figure out what on the playfield, which shots were lighting those letters. And I even read the instruction card. I never read instruction cards. I never read the instruction card. And it says, light all the letters to get Mustang multi-ball. How do I light the letters? Maybe I'm just dumb. Couldn't figure it out. But cool, nonetheless. So, how's the game feel and play, right? Feels good. Plays good. Plays incredibly fast. Game's quick. It's quick, like Star Trek quick. They have man... I actually believe their slingshots on these new Stern games out of the box are just too strong. I think when you get to a point where the ball is zigzagging back and forth so fast that players can't keep up with it, it's just a little much. I think they should dial back, and probably is adjustable. I don't know. It's a little too much. The flippers are really strong, which is cool, especially when you're trying to hit shots and hit cool backhand shots. And I like strong flippers. I really do. But I don't like these crazy hard hitting slingshots. I think they should dial that back just a touch there. Although I did notice tonight playing both Star Trek and Mustang, when I went to something else, like I went over and played Monster Bash at Modern Pinball, game seemed much easier after playing those really fast new Sterns. But anyway, the game's bright. It's really red, lots of reds and blues. Kind of feels like American music. There's 4 songs, which I know people are upset about in the Pro. They only get 4 songs, but one of them is Ace of Spades by Motorhead. So I think in some ways that's like worth 3 or 4 songs, right? The Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades. All hail Lemmy. So it's cool. I like the rollover lanes on the top, the forward rollover lanes. That's kind of neat, interesting design. The pop bumpers are behind the car on the platform. That's fine. I don't really love drop targets in the middle of a game. I just don't. I find there's too many straight down the middle drains, and there's nothing behind those drop targets on the sides. I guess there's targets behind a couple of them, but on the sides, like, there were just dead shots where the drop targets were already down on part of it, and you hit it, and the ball just sort of clunks. I don't like that. I wish there was something else going on there. Scoop shot. So there's the ramp shot. That the ramp can go up and down. I felt like the ramp was up a whole lot on the game. Like, it was often up, so that when I would hit that left ramp shot, it would go under the ramp, and then the ball was back into the rollover targets and into the pop bumpers. But when the ramp was down, and I hit the long, ramp that goes all the way back behind, in the back of the back box and comes down to the little whirlpool thing, it was cool. I just wish I could hit that shot more. The whirlpool thing's okay. It slows gameplay down, which during multi-ball is awesome. You love shooting a ball up there because that's the super jackpot in Gear Shift multi-ball. So you love getting it in there because then you get one of your balls, spinning around the little thing. There's a little like leaf switch type thing in that whirlpool, clear whirlpool thing above the right in lane, that every time the ball rolls by it, you get like a big vroom from the car or whatever. So that's kind of cool. There's nothing groundbreaking on this game. There really isn't. There's nothing crazy and out of control. I could not see buying this game for $5,500 or $4,500 or whatever deal I could get on a Mustang when Star Trek and Metallica are out there. I think those games are much more interesting to me as a player and me as a person. I also don't think that this game is any better than, say, like a Batman Dark Knight or Spider-Man. I just think it's okay. It's fine. It plays really good, really fast. I think it's a great tournament game, and it's not bad. It plays good. It feels good. So it's better than I thought on some levels, but it's still just really sort of boring to me. It just doesn't do anything to me. And all this nonsense about, Joe, you can change the cars out, all this stuff, I don't care. I just don't care. So I'll be interested to see what the premium plays like and how it differs, and see what that feels like. So, big yawn. Is that indicative of how I feel about the Mustang, Ford Mustang, 50 years Mustang pinball machine? Maybe it is. So, I've been thinking a lot about this next part of my review of the festival, because I think I have to tread lightly here on some levels, and I want to be really honest with everything I say, but I think that I have to look into what my role is in this pinball community, and that becomes very real when you go out to a show and you meet people who are putting their time and their money and their energy and their lives into projects, and I feel that way a little bit. I've had some critical email to this podcast here and there, and generally it'll be over one thing I said. It'll be like, I was listening to your show and you ripped on this game and I think you're dumb, and I'm like, all right, you think I'm dumb? That's fine. And it's like, well, dude, I'm here because I love it. I'm not here because anybody's paying me to be here. I'm here because I love it. So, with that in my back pocket, I want to talk about some of the smaller project games that I got to finally see and play at the show. I want to start off with Multimorphic and their P3 platform and Lexi Lightspeed. I think what Jerry and his crew are doing is pretty amazing. They're really trying to push pinball down the road to the next level, and I can tell just talking with him, he's really passionate about what he's doing. It's exciting. It's a game changer on a lot of levels. As far as playing, here's my reactions to playing it. So they have this Lexi Lightspeed character. I believe Dennis Nordman designed. Correct? If I'm wrong, sorry, I'm tired. And the back glass and the artwork is really pretty great. I think it's a cool character. Everyone wants original themes. They heard that, they reacted to that, and here you have an original theme. Okay. However, when you're playing the game, you've got this big LCD screen in front of you, and the artwork on the screen left a little to be desired to me personally. I thought that it's pretty great when they can do the call-outs, like with big arrows and telling you where to shoot. I think that's the kind of stuff that's awesome about this platform, is that they can teach you the game as you play, and probably that type of stuff can be turned off at times. But you can see scoring like pop up on the screen. Your scoreboard is actually right down between the flippers, like below the flippers, which is just awesome. So like, at round's end, you can see all the things you've collected and done. But the actual integration of the theme onto the playfield didn't translate real well to me. I felt like you had this just sort of like foresty area or deserty area, depending on what part of the game you're in. And I didn't get a lot of the Lexi Lightspeed vibe out of it. And that's too bad, because it's such a compelling theme and art piece that you'd want to see that come to life. And that really doesn't come to life when you're playing Lexi Lightspeed. And that's programming. That can be fixed. Not a problem. The cubes that pop up. So that's part of the game that doesn't change. Those are going to be there on any game you put into the P3 platform. So you swap out the back quarter with new ramps, targets, pop bumpers, etc. But the cubes, which are like, I don't know, probably 2.5, 3 inches deep, and then can pop up to about 3 inches tall, all the way across the playfield between the screen and that back quarter. Those pop up and can be lit different colors because they're clear plastic. And so when I was playing, they all pop up. So it's like a wall of these things, and you cannot shoot past them to the stuff behind them. And one of them was lit green. So obviously I know I'm trying to shoot that green one. So I shoot the green one, and then another one turns red. So now I have a different one that's green and one that turns red. And I, being an idiot and not realizing that red means stop, don't, no, etc., I shoot the red one. And all of a sudden I get, my ball returns to my flipper, and now I just have one green one. And so I shoot the green one, and then one turns red, and then a different one turns green, and I shoot the red one again. And I actually cradled the ball and looked back at Jerry or somebody that was there and goes, yeah, every time you hit the red one, you're going to lose one. It's going to go back to just one green. I'm like, yeah, I finally figured that out. So it's cool. But it was part of the gameplay. It was interactive. So you're trying to hit the green ones over and over till you probably get all of them green, I'm guessing, or 3 of them green or something. I drained before I got that far. So that's fine. However, I don't love the clear plastic cubes because they're sort of a little, I don't want to use the word generic, but they're sort of a little, they don't have a lot of personality other than a clear plastic cube that's lit up green or something. It's not super compelling, and I could see how designers designing for this platform could sort of look at this and go, what do I do with those? What am I going to do with these things that pop up out of the playfield? I don't know. I almost feel like those should have been part of that back quarter that pops out, so that on the next game, maybe there aren't those cubes there and there's just more targets and stuff. I don't know. Just my thought. The flippers. A lot of people talk about the flippers in this game because they can't put in normal flippers onto this game because underneath the flippers, you have a LCD screen, so you can't drill holes down in there and mount normal flippers with coils underneath. So they have these like mechanical flippers that have sort of a push system that runs into the apron of the game, and they feel a little different than a normal flipper. They do, but they felt good. I thought they felt really good. They're strong, they're quick, they're everything they need to be. I thought that was okay. That was cool. Overall, it doesn't feel like it's ready to go. Like, I didn't feel like, okay, this is done, let's do this. It definitely feels like it's on its way to something really great. It's fun to play. I mean, it is fun to play for sure, and I need to see more with this. The lights tracking the ball across the playfield, and I need to I want to see the theme better integrated. I felt like everything on the game played really heavy. Maybe is the word. Like it's so sturdy, and I think Jerry actually said that they have to go through like a lightning process as they go to build more of these. This is a prototype game here. So it needs a little more of that give. Like when you push on a game, it kind of gives a little bit. And like when you hit a drop target, there's some softness there. And I don't know. But other than that, it's like, okay, fine. I'm nitpicking this game. Let me tell you, when you're watching the playfield, and you shoot a target that advances you in the game, and the camera, quote unquote, it's not really a camera, but you get the idea of like a video game. The camera like pans way in to where you were, like zooms in underneath you playing pinball. it's pretty freaking cool. It's like a great experience. It's a lot of fun. They're going with the idea of you buy this thing for 10 grand and you get 2 full games. I think that's cool, but I think also 10 grand's a lot of money for something that's not sort of, classic and not ingrained in what we do and doesn't have that, I grew up on this. It's something really new. So I don't know what your percentage of early adopters will be. But I also understand that probably financially, it's just, they're in a better spot if they can sell, one system with 2 games for 10 grand rather than try and sell, one system with 1 game for 7,000 or something like that. So I really look forward to maybe California Extreme, seeing it again, as I know they're still working on the games. But, to me, it's like the P3 multimorphic platform gets an A, but the first game, the actual game that I'm playing on it, was sort of like a B-, I guess would be my best thing. But, and that's me being honest. I don't want to sit here and be overly critical. I want this thing to succeed. I want people to be interested in it. But that's just my take for playing it for a little while. All right, you heard my interview with Kevin from Skippy Pinball in episode 72. So what did I think about the game? It's a game I can't buy. They're all sold. There's a waiting list, so even if I fell in love with the game and wanted it, I can't have it. It's not a theme that I'm like dying that I missed out on. Predator's cool. I think it's fine. It's one of those themes that it's like, yeah, why didn't they make a pinball machine out of Predator back in the day? So I like the sort of 80s vibe. I had a few people tell me they didn't like the artwork. I actually had multiple people say, I don't like the artwork. It looks, campy or something. Here's what I say to the artwork situation. It's an 80s movie that they can't do Photoshop and photos of that. Or I guess maybe they could have. They didn't want to, and I'm glad they didn't. And the style of the artwork to me sort of goes along with the 1980s. It has a 1980s feel to it. The artwork, it looks like a Nintendo game based on Predator. It reminds me of Contra. Did anybody play the game Contra on Nintendo? Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, whatever. Contra. It looks like that. I thought it worked out fine. You've got the jungle theme. You're hunting for the Predator. Maybe I'm not totally sold on the blacklight paint thing. So when you're playing the game, it's lit up, and they had it lit up pretty bright with white LEDs in the GI. And then say you lose your ball, and then bam, the black lights are still on, all the GI goes off, and you're supposed to have this glowing jungle. But what you really got with the way the lights were in the room, because there were still, pretty bright lights in this room. It was not a black room. You got the ramps glowing. The plastic and the ramps, for whatever reason, reacted with the black light, so the ramps really glowed. And it looked cool. It looked really cool. I liked that. I was hoping to see a little bit more of pop from the actual paint on the playfield. So it's kind of a flat game. You launch the ball, and it goes up to the top middle, and then it kind of has to come down through 2 sets of rubbers. I think the rubbers actually sort of, to me, slowed the ball down a little too much, getting down into the pop bumpers, which are sort of in the middle upper third of the game. There's 3, triangular pop bumpers. And that's okay. I just told you on Mustang, I don't really love drop targets right in the middle of the game. Well, this game has 2 stand-up targets right in the middle of the game. And again, I just don't love that as a layout. That's never been my favorite thing. So that's just a personal preference thing. There are, I believe, 2 ramps that both go to... Is it 2 ramps? Yeah, it's got to be 2 ramps. 2 ramps that both go to clear habit trails, ball returns down to your in lanes. And on the right side, there was a skull and a spinal cord set of bones over one of them that was kind of cool. There was a body hanging out of the tree. It's directly out of a skinned body. I think that came right out of the movie. Haven't seen that movie in years, so it can't be exact. So I guess what I'll say is, as far as just a play field and a game design and a layout, it's okay. It's not. There's nothing groundbreaking here. There's nothing like, oh my gosh, look what they did. This is not, gonna blow anybody's mind. So, but let me tell you what was really cool from what I thought. Their modes and their programming and their rule set, from what I played and what I watched about another, 15 games played, is really, really fleshed out and good. They have spent a lot of time making this a game that people are going to really be able to sink their teeth into. And, start modes, get through modes, have different types of modes. There was one that I don't even think I fully understood that I think you had to, boy, I forget how it went, but you cradled the ball with one and then used the other flipper to like fire, because I think on the right side there's two flipper buttons. It was just, really in-depth stuff. There's like a machine gunning setting where I think one of the flippers can't be cradled, can't be held up, so you have to just keep, rapid fire. Just really cool stuff that I think we as players, as far as rule sets go, kind of think, well, why doesn't anybody do this? And we're mostly playing Stern games, of the new stuff. So we either have classic Bally Williams titles or new Stern stuff that we sort of think about as far as rules and modes and things like that. And they just felt like they actually moved the ball a little bit to somewhere different with what they did with Predator. And it's good. That's really good. The dots are good. I think they could have had a little more variety, both in the look of some of the dots and in some of the sound effects that were coming off the game. I felt like I was just constantly hearing explosion on the game, which does fit the theme, so you can't totally fault them for that. But yeah, I think, and let's remember, this game, for those people that bought the game, was less than $5,000 for a ultra limited licensed theme original game from a new company. It's probably going to be building games for a while, and it's their first game. It's great. I think it's fantastic. So kudos to Skippy Pinball. I think that the color changing lights in the translite is a really neat idea. Having it move like that. The game looks good from a distance for sure. I think their cabinet art's actually better than their playfield art on some level, as far as just kind of standing out. But the playfield art, it is what it is. It's a hand drawn take on a 1980s action movie. So that's kind of my thoughts. And I'll tell you, I only played it twice. I did not take a lot of time to really, really play through Predator, because, I got the basic idea pretty early on, and I also know that I'll never get to own one of these games. So, people who are going to get to see this game out at other shows, definitely play it, and because it's going to probably go down in a little part of pinball history. Skippy was one of the first boutique builders in this kind of crop that have popped up to, put their necks on the line and go do this and make it happen. So, pretty exciting stuff from the Skippy Pinball guys. So, what did I think of Big Bang Bar? I know you're asking that because we all saw Big Bang Bar listed as being at the Texas Pinball Festival. And indeed, there was a Big Bang Bar at the Texas Pinball Festival. However, it was with the games from the company out of Texas called Fun, with an exclamation point, because they're so fun. And they brought a lot of games, so we thank them for that. And they brought some really, really nice games. And then there's some games that had some issues. Some games that they were there to be sold. Fun was doing the auction. Fun was auctioning off a bunch of games. I don't know exactly how many they had. I think it were 80 or 90 games, something like that there. And they had a Big Bang Bar. And the Big Bang Bar was never turned on the entire weekend. It was there only for the auction. It was item number 1 to be auctioned off. And that was sort of disappointing, because you have all these people, many of whom have never played a Big Bang Bar, including me. And it was disappointing to continually walk by that game over and over, and it'd be dark and turned off. So, boo. That was not fun. As far as the auction goes, auctions are tough because you got to be ready to pay for the darn thing right there. See, there are a lot of people that were there for the auction. At the auction day of, there's a 10% buyer's premium tagged onto the game and the Texas state sales tax. If you participated in the auction online, there's a 15% auction premium. So that's a lot added on. And Big Bang Bar did indeed sell to somebody at the auction. It sold for $17,500, which is lower than I thought it was going to go for. I know on the auction site where it was listed, I think they estimated a low estimate of $20,000 and a high estimate of $29,000, which I guess doesn't mean anything because they set those estimates. But it was in great shape. I thought it would have gone for a little bit more, but I kind of wonder if, with Medieval Madness literally being right next to it at the show, the remake, if maybe there's a little trepidation to spending $20,000 on a game when somebody could buy the license and remake the game. And in this game's case, this was already sort of a game brought back to life, because this wasn't one of the original dozen or so. This was one of the Gene Cunningham remakes. So $17,500 for a Big Bang Bar. Now, not everything was that expensive. I know a Big Chief classic Williams EM game sold for $750. There was a Rocky and Bullwinkle there. The rare black version, that game's normally in blue, sold for $2,000. And, that's in line. There was a World Cup Soccer sold. I believe it actually was sold on the internet portion of the auction for $1,800, which I think is a fair price there. A Star Wars was sold for $2,300. Just giving you some ideas of what's going on there. A Paragon sold for $1,650. A Stern Star Trek Pro, brand new Stern Star Trek Pro, $3,900. So add 10% because it was sold at the auction, and then add, I think, 8 point something for state sales tax. So, the games were not selling at crazy high prices like some of the things I have seen in California. I know there was a Tales of the Arabian Nights sold for, I think, $5,500, and it was in really nice shape. So I don't know. It was interesting watching it. I was just more bummed than anything that the Big Bang Bar was not available to play. So, in any case, that was the auction portion of the Texas Pinball Festival. So there were a lot of rare games around the floor, and I played everything I could that was rare. I think I mentioned to you guys that I played a Hercules, that Elevation Games Mark brought. That was neat. It's cool. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so big and crazy. He actually sold that game at the show, and he sold it to the Pinballs Arcade out of Austin. I believe that really, well reviewed and highly thought of arcade in Austin, Texas is opening a second location in far south Austin, and I think that's where Hercules will be residing from here on out. I got to play Mark's Safecracker. I'd never played a Safecracker in person, and it's fun. Safecracker to me is like just so Pat Lawler. It feels like Monopoly meets a mini Twilight Zone sort of type thing. It's cool. I almost wonder if a company made a run at doing a smaller size pinball machine with all the features like that game, if that wouldn't catch on just for the space requirements, because it doesn't feel like you're being cheated, really. It's good. Trust me, Safecracker's fun. It's a lot of fun. What else did I play that was rare? Oh, Joust. Shane and I got to play a couple games of Joust, and he beat me badly. I always thought Joust was just going to be a gimmick, and Joust is a two-sided pinball machine where you play against each other, and there's a couple like spinner targets that you actually can shoot through to the other side, and you're sort of attacking the other player. It's very cool. I think that somebody could do an updated two-player pinball machine and really have a hit on their hands. I think it's awesome. I think the problem with that is not on location. It could be not as awesome, because if you don't have somebody else to play with, then you're out of luck. I mean, I guess you can play it as a one-player game, but really, really fun in that sort of environment. So I really enjoyed Joust. There's a Q*bert there. It's a very rare game. Q*bert is symmetrical. If you look up, look at a Q*bert pinball machine. There aren't many of them. It's not some fantastic game that's like, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest thing. It's actually a John Trudeau design. I believe they made less than 1,000 of them. It's called Q*bert's Quest, actually. And it's trippy because it has flippers down beneath the flippers that flip back the other way. But once you sort of get the hang of it, and you hit those flippers right, the ball actually curves around the bottom curve and then up into the upper curve, and it's it's kind of cool. It's it's a neat piece of pinball history for sure. That I got to play. That was pretty exciting. Best in Show at the Texas Pinball Festival was won by Star Trek Mirror Universe. And that's a takeoff of an old Star Trek episode where a gentleman that goes by the name of Zit, and I don't know Zit, but Zit is from Austin, Texas. Zit has flipped a Star Trek machine, the Bally 1978 Star Trek machine, into a all left-handed, it's not left-handed, but it's a flipped side of, it's reversed. So the shooter lane is actually on the left side. And it's pretty amazing. You almost have to see it and see what he's done. He's basically rebuilt a game and redesigned it. And, switched the colors are all inverted, and I don't know. Go look it up is what I would say. It wasn't up and running when I was there to actually play it, but I did get to see some other people play it later. But go do yourself a favor and go to Pinside, or actually if you just Google Star Trek Mirror Universe Pinball and ZITT, that's his name, and go read the blogs and look at the pictures on what he's done with this game. Because it's like I don't have the focus and energy to take a project where he took this project. So congratulations to him for winning Best of Show. A lot of people said it was a foregone conclusion that he would win Best in Show with this game. So he did, and congrats. It was neat. It was something rare, and I'm sure it'll be back next year. So if you're at the Texas Pinball Festival next year, be sure and find that. They had a whole section of all the Star Trek games right there, like all of them, including that one. So that was really neat. The classic Stern Row was really cool. 9-ball was my personal favorite. I played it really well. Iron Maiden right next to it was also beautiful and fantastic. The Stargazers were nice. Gary Stern was just thrilled to see these old, Stern Electronics pinball machines all in a row. So that was one of the highlights for sure of the show. And there's lots of other cool games, lots of rare games. On my list of games I had not played and really wanted to play was a Lights, Camera, Action. And I got to play it. And I got to tell you, people were playing that game the whole weekend. It took me forever. I had to wait this guy out to play this game. Because I don't really like to stand behind people when they're playing a game when there's not a lot of people there. Because that's the one game they want to play. Let them play the darn game. So I just kept coming by, and I'd play the game next to it, play the game on the other side of it, hoping this dude would leave. And finally he left, and I played it. And man, I got to tell you, Lights, Camera, Action, very, very cool. A lot going on, interesting rule set, interesting kind of ideas in that game. Still those Gottlieb flippers. It just feels like teed off on some level, but that's okay. So that's a game, if that popped up for sale for the right price, that's a fun one to have for sure. And there was many more games, and I'm sure they'll come up to me in future episodes when I'm thinking back of all the fun things I got to see and do. Really enjoyed it. Had a great time. As far as tournaments go, I played the Pick Your Partner, Draw Your Partner tournament, and failed miserably, like we talked about in episode 71. And the whole rest of the weekend, I kept saying to people, okay, yeah, I got to go get ready. I got to go get in the tournaments. I got to go buy some entries into the tournaments. And you know what? I never did. I never even entered. I was so busy running around recording things for the show, chatting with people who I had emailed with before and then actually got to meet in person, meeting, listeners of the show and just talking with them. I had been sick the whole week, so I was sort of a little worn out, wasn't actually playing very good pinball myself, and I never entered a tournament. One thing I would say that they should maybe think about in future years is they had the scoreboard posted way up high on a wall, and you could barely read it. It was so up high. And I have, fantastic vision via my LASIK surgery from a couple years ago, and I was like barely able to read any of that. And I heard other people couldn't read it. When you have a tournament like that and you're trying to get people into it, part of the whole thing is, I know I'm not going to win, but I like to see just where I place. So you want to be able to see the scores. And they just had one screen running all the time way up high on top of the wall. I think they'd do better by having some TV screens running the scores constantly, or if they want to use projectors, get some, white screens to project onto down at a better level where everyone can see. I think that would go a long way towards kind of bringing people in. Now, there were lines to get on the tournaments the whole time, so I'm sure they did fine, but I didn't really jump into it. I had so many other things going on, so but overall, I got to tell you, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. The people are the highlight. And I've had multiple emails from people who I got to hang out with and meet and talk to. And I hope you guys are listening. But thank you for every one of those emails. Those mean a lot to me. That's my payment. That's what it's all about for me. And getting to make friends at the show and people that are also into what I'm into this crazy little niche hobby that is pinball and gaming and stuff like that. So it really is an amazing time. It's been said before that the highlight of these shows often is not the pinball, but it's the people there to play the pinball. So I really do agree with that. I had so much fun. And you know what? The Midwest Gaming Classic is like 12 days away. How many days away? It's coming up so fast. And I'm very lucky this year in that I get to go to a few shows and get to pull some of these trips off, because I will be at the Midwest Gaming Classic on April 12th and 13th in, I'll just say Wisconsin, because I keep forgetting. Brookfield, Wisconsin. So very excited about that. It's a great spring of pinball so far. So I look forward to reporting back on that one as well. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always email me directly at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. It's coast, the number 2, then coast, pinball at gmail.com. I have a few t-shirt requests out right now from people. I have some people who sent me some money. I have some shirts back in San Diego that I'll get mailed out when I get back. I sold everything I brought with, and there was a few extras towards the end, and I gave them out to some people who'd given me shirts and given me some stuff, some other vendors. So I handed out some shirts just to be done with them. And I'll have some more coming out soon. So if you're interested in some t-shirts, watch the website or shoot me an email. Those will be happening. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later.